very warm welcome to all of you. Well, first off, I want to start this by thanking each one of you who admired the last blog that I posted, and that was around evolution. Now, evolution in itself, I'm sure you can imagine, is a large concept, so it is going to require a lot of bites. I try to constantly blog and pass on as much information as possible to as many of you. But looking at the questions that I've received on emails and requests of posting something which could be viewed, such as science, so everyone's trying to leverage technology, which is a great thing. I thought it would be nice that we tackle the questions one on one, the questions that you've posted. So, one of the questions that I got is, what is more significant? Is it true evolution or accreditation that matters? So, this indeed is a dichotomy, so we are talking basically of making life happen. I mean, that is the traditional norm, isn't it? When we're raising a child, we usually try to educate them saying that you need to learn this well so that your life goes comfortable. I mean, I think that is the convenient word that we choose to use. What we probably forget in the process is comfort for the entire surrounding that is going to fall in this person's periphery or immediate region of influence. Have we achieved it? Honestly, is a definite doubt that I hold as I speak. So I must administer a lot of tools, so behavioral precision in a human being. And I'm talking in light of my experience alone here, not essentially any knowledge that I've gobbled from a book that I found at a counter. It is much like a laptop battery, so a battery exists in a laptop, and we all know that. We usually charge it for a while and we detach and take it. I mean, that's the basic utility of the device. We realize its significance when, at a point, the laptop stops to respond because of lack of power. Such are a lot of things that lie in the education system, especially as far as I've noticed. If I was to observe Indian education system closely, we are yet to deploy a lot of practical sciences into it. So the first odd, in my view, that I've witnessed a lot of people suffer the flack of is stack ranking. Or it's just one more layer to accreditation. Stack ranking. So we are always keen to know what is the percentage that you acquired in a certain examination. How much did you achieve in science or mathematics or physics? Now the question here is, does the percentage really matter, or the understanding of the concept? That is one question that has always bothered me, because unfortunately I have met a lot of people in the walk of my life, which is very short till date. A lot of people who have acquired great scores in any examinations that I've ever attempted, but failed to practically implement the knowledge in their daily lives. So where is the utility? That is the point. Now, this takes a scary form, especially when you talk about Indian families. Now, I am a South Indian, so I can only strike examples from the community that I'm more close to. A lot of times what I've seen is that the willingness to get your child acquire great knowledge, that push leads to a lot of bullying. Bullying in the form of A, comparing the child with his or her competitors, B, constantly reminding him or her that they have to get back to studies, irrespective of what their priorities lie in. So for a child, it might be music or art or dance or poetry, writing. In spite of all of that, the child is somehow constantly criticized in a lot of setups, in a lot of family models. I think these formats of refining fundamental educational preferences are a total failure. What I believe is that instead of generating affection towards the process of learning, this child is constantly combating the fear of getting bullied by his own family. In an attempt which is usually a gateway to failure, in this attempt he at best acts interested in the process. Would we want to call that learning? That's up to our discretion, but if we are scientific enough, it is enough to prove that this could not be called learning. This is succumbing to the situation. And eventually, in the long run, if psychological sciences are to be believed, this child is more likely to grow into someone who has a lot of suppressed anguish, anger, frustration within. And he takes competition as a form of living. Now, competition is definitely a positive aspect of life. It encourages us to do better compared to our immediate contestants. However, life and its sustainability as a superset, if you take a view at it, this view may not be as positive an impact. So encouraging your child to learn what you think is right for him or her at that age is great. However, I've seen a lot of examples, a lot of good examples in families where children are let to be. They are empowered to make the choices of what they want to learn, who they want to turn into as they grow old. They are not constantly compared to their predecessors or somebody who's in the neighborhood or somebody's role model in the family. This child should have a preference to choose that specific line of profession. Be it a painter, be it a writer, a singer. Now these are streams, in my personal opinion. I enjoy writing. Now it is not something that I even discovered till I was about 14 or 15 years of age. And I had extremely limited exposure to any piece of writing which stood away from traditional subjects that I was supposed to learn. And I was in constant contest with the paradigm. Why should I learn or believe in things written by someone which are practically not seen in daily lives? Honesty and integrity was a constant repetition in the form of stories, novels, literature, way of living, civic sciences. But where do you get to see honesty? I think the more functional learning should be to promote honesty as a concept, the significance of it, what it lends you. It lends you mental peace primarily. So for that child to learn that this will promote peace within you is, I think, far more effective a learning than him or her relying on trying to achieve something out of learning civic sciences. That I think is just going to be a check in the box. Foundational behavior. So the core problems as we speak that the society is encountering as on date is murders, rapes, extortions, road rage, behavioral anomalies. A list that could just go on all night long if I talk on it. But in every home, as I see it, everyone is promoting good behavior in words. So people are constantly getting disappointed at kids who have complaints raised against them by the school or the authorities. They are constantly teaching kids to stay in limits. That I think it is illegal now to beat a child or even slightly obstruct anyone in a physical form. But back in those days, I remember that corrections were made. Capital punishment to students was a norm. Did it all help? I think I go back to the same point. It is suppression of instinctive behavior. So basically, the instinctive behavior of the subject does not even surface because it is suppressed. I think the most frequently visited subject for that person will be fear than trying to be good. He sees no merit in it. He sees merit in hiding from you and taking pleasure in what he does. So these could be compulsive disorders. These could be a lot of underlying factors. Fears can lead to anger. Fear could lead to constant disagreement with people. It could lead to a lot of other negative surge of emotions in a human system. So to make a shift, what should we promote? The objective needs to stay highly scientific. I think it's high time. India is progressing. By progress, I would never say acquaintance with the Western culture. These are distinct cultures. I think traditional Indian culture was exceptionally advanced. People had their fundamental rights well in place. They believed in justice, fairness in the society. I think the troubled section of people are the ones who are stuck amid traditional Indian culture and the Western wave. They seem to be the most trouble to me because they don't know exactly where they belong. They have taken probably the most appealing of the Western culture and they are too scared to leave behind the not so effective part of Indian culture. I think there are a lot of ways to strike this. This could be established with simple examples as we proceed. So when the objective is scientific, I think you will seek respite, which means solution to the situation, and not really despise. So if somebody posts you as a despicable face in front of them, let's say your father constantly argues with a kid because in some year of his life he was not a great student, but today he fetches well for himself, he has a dignified professional standing, he has established abilities of existence in the society. Irrespective of all of that, I've seen a lot of parents who go back to some era where the child was a horrible student and try to sort of curb his confidence in that corner, that sort of cornering is just going to turn you into an undesired face. That dislike towards you, I don't think is productive. So it's very important for us to spend time with children as they are growing, because these are foundational learnings. So during the formative years, if you spend quality time with them, trying to tell them the positive side of living a certain way, instead of generating fear in them towards the consequences of not being right, I think that is the trick of the game. And human beings are the most sophisticated form of existence. I think it's highly unfair for somebody who's highly educated to believe that someone who did not undergo so much of traditional literature to be dumb or any lesser. Everybody is contributing as we speak to the society, and that is important, because the rest of the traditional belief is far too rudimentary to be even described in this current era of transformation. We are living in wonderful times. Everything is fairly automated. Most of the requirements that used to take kilometers of walk once upon a time is available at fingertips. Information, including this video that you're going to watch, is going to be streamed onto the internet and circulated to majority parts of the world within a matter of minutes. This never used to happen back then. So life for me is an aphorism, and I'd like to describe that. An aphorism is something that is self-written. So there is no book that I've ever come across which says the foolproof way to live. I don't know. I'm yet to encounter that book. Otherwise, trust me, I would have read it and gotten done with the whole system called knowledge. So what is knowledge has always been a subject of debate for me with many people. Knowledge needs to be functional. It should be applicable. When applied, it adds value to life. Otherwise, it stays in your head. Let's say you managed to achieve great scores. All it means is you could memorize whatever was written in that book, and you could replicate it on a piece of paper, at times word per word, and at times conceptually. The broken chain lies in the word called implementing it in your life. So application of the acquired knowledge, respect to every human being, should automatically prohibit you within to the use of bad language, for instance, or the use of power to suppress someone's free will. I don't see that happening in the society. Even today, a person who drives a car can be easily spotted talking exceptionally impolitely, and they blurt out abuses like it's the most well-rehearsed song that they remember, which is not a surprise anymore, because I've been driving around in Delhi for quite long now. But is that something we should compromise with or find a resolution to? See, we can sit down and complain about it. Television channels are doing that enough. I think you and I should bring that change home. Which home? To our own homes. We should tell kids to be especially polite to the weaker section of the society. Power often owns respect. Respect comes by design to power, in my view. If you're a sensible person with basic intelligence, I don't see you getting rude with your boss. You cannot afford to do that. But whether you are affectionate and polite to your subordinate always stays a matter of choice. And those are the choices where majority section of the society derails from the entire concept of good behavior. So the critical things that we've visited in this bite are, we've tried to acquire knowledge and scores for decades now. You know, let's look at a different model, a distinct format now. Let's a certain knowledge of a person by the ideas he introduces to you, the way he talks, the basic manner in which he does things in his daily life. That is more significant than turning a doctor or an astronaut. It will bring home a lot of pride, I understand, and a dignified job is somebody always looks up to. It is highly respected in the society, but I see evolution happening in the segment of occupations. All professions are equally respected in the modern world. I don't see any relativity between what your qualifications are to how much money you can make. A lot of history stands evidence enough to prove that education and prosperity, if that is the final goal as we speak, I'm talking exceptionally practical, struggling to talk exceptionally practical because I don't look at things that way. Money has nothing to do with happiness. But even if that is the motive, a lot of college dropouts have stood tall business magnates all their lives, and they've left the world with remarkable ideas that will span for generations to come. Inspire kids, inspire students, inspire colleagues, inspire learners. Give them strength to struggle harder within themselves, not competing with somebody else. Let's not go after rudimentary beliefs anymore. We live in a different era altogether. Nobody goes to a post office. Nobody types out a letter on a typewriter. We send emails. So let's talk practical things to kids. Let's tell them how things work, how to be safe, how to hold a great conversation without conflict, how to manage somebody who's exceptionally angry in a certain situation. So these are practical bites of information that you will share with your kid.